Hello again, everyone. It's good to have you with us for this event. It figures to be an exceptional one that doesn't need any build-up.
Are you ready?
Don't ever give up. Don't ever stop fighting.
This is the main event of the evening.
Athletes, huddle up. It's time to begin. Get focused. Let's go. Athletes, take your mark. Get set. It's time for the Addict to Athlete podcast. Hey, everybody out there, Coach Blu Robinson here. Thank you so much for downloading, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast. Dang, we greatly appreciate you doing so. Hey, as always, take a look at our website, addicttoathlete.org. You're going to find tons of content in there, backlogged podcasts, tips for your recovery, blog posts, and hey, even a team store. So if you want to jump on and get some Team Addict to Athlete merchandise to kick off your 2023 running season, that's your location. We'd love to have you become part of our team, represent your running for purpose and reason, and really to kind of show up and tell people a little bit more about how your recovery has been strengthened simply by getting out and getting motivated and moving. So I'm excited to share with you this week's podcast. I was actually called and asked to be a guest on the RecoveryCast podcast several weeks ago, and I wanted to share with you a little bit of the insight that we spoke about, give you maybe a little bit of an opportunity to hear a little bit of a different side of what Team Addict to Athlete does, but more so just to kind of, I guess, put in your mind how important us being vocal about our recovery is. No longer are those days of anonymity a thing. That is a thing of yesteryear. And I say that with a lot of respect for the purpose behind it. But in 2023, anonymity will kill us. So let's get out there, share our message, turn that mess into a message. And I hope you enjoy this, the RecoveryCast podcast. Let me know what you guys think.
RecoveryCast.
You are listening to RecoveryCast, real conversations with people in recovery and the professionals who guide them. I'm Paulie. Michelle is here. How are you this morning?
Hello, Paulie. I'm great. How are you today?
Why did you say hello? We had a long drawn.
I don't know. I was trying to mix it up for today.
You know what, my daughter...
I was listening to an old podcast and I always say, I'm fantastic. I'm tired of being fantastic. So I decided
to
you're not. Hello, Paulie. I'm great.
So my daughter and I have both been doing the Buffalo Bill voice from Silence of the Lambs. And there's a reason why this is topical, and we'll get to it momentarily. But we're always like, so Dad, what's for dinner? She'll say. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we're going to make some Chinese. And again, let me clarify. We are LGBTQ inclusive. Yes. So please don't mistake that for a gay bashing voice.
No.
But Buffalo Bill did sound kind of like this before he put the lotion in the basket. Did he not?
Yes,
he did.
He did.
Bit.
What a great movie.
A little bit.
Clarity.
So how are you? Don't lie.
No, I'm good. I'm a little stressful. I had to find a new accountant. That's a little stressful in the beginning of the year, but that's okay. I did find a solution and it was fairly easy. So I own a business and I have to issue some 1099s, and I always like to be ahead of the ball, on that. Yep. I don't like to wait until the last minute. And my former accountant was not contacting me, and I was like, okay, I have a solution. I'm just going to find a new accountant. She's been my accountant for 10 years. But she's doing some transitioning and she's moving. And so, okay, I did a little homework and I found somebody that was actually local, and I met with her this morning and she's like, I'll have this stuff done by Friday. I'm like, you are working on the same wavelength as me. I love it. So good. I think it worked out good.
Well, I'm glad that brings you joy.
How are you?
Mixed bag. Mixed bag. Showing up with some excitement. If I sort of drop down in my body, dude, I'm showing up with excitement. Excitement and fear. Excitement and fear for sure.
Okay.
Dude, I enjoy fear, dude. Fear is kind of my jam. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind being scared by life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just kind of like, life sometimes is terrifying and I kind of get off on it. It's kind of my drug. You know what I'm saying? So real quick before we get to our guest, who is a super jock, Michelle, and I say that because all you people that are just like insane exercise people have a lot to offer those of us in recovery, because you've figured out this little secret slice that I would say most people in recovery don't really embrace. And since it's January, do you see what we're doing here? Yeah. We're taking advantage of all the people that have made New Year's resolutions that will more than likely fail, but we're going to act like they won't. And we're going to have them on. Although I'm sure our guest will have some, what's the word I'm looking for? Michelle, help me out. Some tips on how to not fail with these goals. We'll get to them here in a bit. I did want to share a little bit of information. Guess who is celebrating 47 years clean and sober? Anthony Hopkins, who sent out a tweet where he spoke to us about...
Hello, everyone. I just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. And also to say I'm celebrating 47 years today. 47 years. I'm 185. And 147 years of it has been clean and... 47 years, dude.
That's huge. It's just
47.
Huge. 47.
Especially with a wallet that big. Like, I'm always amazed when people who have ways and means stay clean and sober because they don't have a regular 9 to 5 holding them accountable. Like, Sir Anthony could just dip and just use to his heart's content and blow his heart up with crystal methamphetamine if he wanted to.
Well, yeah, but it also goes to prove that it doesn't really matter what you do in life. Addiction affects everybody at any stage. You can have gajillions of dollars and still be unhappy and use. So he's got gajillion dollars and doesn't use. So kudos to him.
Yeah.
Of sobriety. But this is a message not meant to be heavy, but I hope helpful. I am a recovering alcoholic. And to you out there, I know there are people struggling in this day and age of cancel and hatred and non-compromise, children being bullied. I say...
Okay, dude, I thought you said you weren't going to be serious. Now you're talking about my kid being bullied.
Well, he has a message. Let's play it out a little bit. Let's see what he says.
I know, but he just said it's not going to be serious, but in this, a political era where everyone hates it. Let's see how he
turns it around, okay? Let's give him a little credit.
Okay.
Kind to yourself.
Oh, okay.
Be kind. Stay out of the circle of toxicity with people. If they offend you, live your life. Be proud of your life. 47 years ago, I was in a desperate situation, in despair, and probably not long to live. And I just happened to acknowledge one day that there was something really wrong with me. But I didn't realize that it was a kind of condition, mental, physical, emotional condition called alcoholism or addiction. I'm not an expert on drugs. I'm not an expert on anything. I know nothing, except I have found a life where no one bullies me. I want to say to all you young people who are being bullied, take heed. You be proud of yourself. Don't listen to them.
Okay, I'm going to shut him down. Here's what I say. Punch him right back in the face. Like, if you're being backed into a corner by a bully, you just got to punch him right in the nose. One quick hit right to the nose. And let me tell you why, Michelle, and then we'll get to our guest, because I was raised by a man who thought you always walk away. You always walk away.
Right.
And I was like, well, sometimes I walk away and then they come at me from the other direction. And I would always say to my dad, please, am I going to get in trouble if one of these guys who's giving me a hard way to go starts a fight with me and I punch him back? And you know what he would say to me?
What?
He'd say, don't hit him back. And I'd say, Holmes, that's not what I asked you. What I'm trying to tell you is that this is becoming unavoidable, because I was bullied a lot. And I really wish I would have had a man that would have just said, dude, straight up, just karate chop right to the Adam's apple. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right, Michelle?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a very similar experience. I was bullied very much when I was in grade school, and I never retaliated and I never fought back because I was told to walk away and just don't pay attention, ignore it.
Yeah. And
in high school, I had an incident where there was a girl that was bullying another girl on the school bus, and I just had enough. And I pictured the girl that bullied me when I was in grade school, and I just pounded the shit out of this girl.
Wow. So the trauma response comes in handy.
Yeah. And I got in big trouble for that too. It felt good though. I got to be honest. It felt good, but I did get in trouble. So that's not the Catholic way.
Yes.
No, it's the Hungarian way.
Oh, that's right. You guys like to throw down.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so now real quick, let me clarify before we get to Coach Blue here, who's done a lot to help people in recovery. Let me clarify. Please don't be like, you guys making fun of Sir Anthony Hawk. Come on, man. Everyone just breathe a little bit. Like, it's okay to crack a joke on anyone about, well, I'm not going to say about anything, but it's not like we were being cruel. We're just having some fun. Coach Blue Robinson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you guys so much. I'll agree with you on that too. I mean, you got to take it with some lightheartedness, or else, what's the point of living? You got to have some fun with this, and that's a great message. I had no idea. I didn't know that he had struggled that way. But
you didn't know he was an alcoholic?
No, huh?
Wow. Okay.
No, incredible.
Cool.
Yeah. This is going to, dude, a perfect example here about how COVID has really ruined my brain. I was going to say, he was James Bond. It's like, no, that was
no.
Con.
No, he
wasn't.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I was going to say every James Bond episode during COVID, and my gosh, they don't age well. I don't know if you guys watched those.
Yeah, I know, right?
Ooh, yeah.
They don't.
I tell my daughters, I'm like, maybe you guys shouldn't watch these. I'll have you guys go over there. Yeah. Pretty funny.
So Coach Blue Robinson, first off, you've been clean and sober how long?
Oh man, I don't really keep track, but 1996. So like a whole lifetime ago, it seems like.
Wow. That's a
been
long
a while.
time ago.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
And in addition to starting a nonprofit and helping people in recovery by moving their bodies, I think I have this right. You were a drug and alcohol counselor, so you actually worked in a treatment setting. And what was just your whole take on that? Like as you left, were you like, "Thank God, I'm glad I got the hell out of there," or just your general take? Because I still work in the field.
I probably share the same feelings you do, Coach Blue.
Yeah. She worked in the field for about 6 weeks, I think.
It was not. It was 3
Michelle
months.
Did. It was 3 months, and then she said, "I'm out." So, what was your experience?
Yeah. I'll tell you, like, it was kind of a crazy thing. You're looking at a high school dropout too. So the fact that I even was able to graduate high school, let alone go to college and get any kind of degrees, almost a miracle in and of itself. So I went through the School of Alcohol, of Substance Abuse and Drug Addiction in the University of Utah, year 2000, and thought that would be all I'd want to do. Is back then they called it an LSAC, Licensed Substance Abuse Counselor, right? And what I realized is that my scope of practice was fairly limited. And with some coercing from my wife, and she's like, maybe you should keep going. I did. I went back and got my master's degree to become a mental health therapist. So duly licensed as a counselor and mental health, specializing in addiction, and worked at a government program, which is where Addict to Athlete kind of started, and loved it. I loved working with the ground level people. Years later, thought it'd be a great idea to own my own treatment center, saw the ugly side of that industry and hightailed it right out of there. Started the nonprofit, kind of pushing it a little bit further. And yeah, we're doing some great work now, but I'm with you. It takes a special heartbeat to get in there. But
so look, I was super psyched because when I heard of you, man, look, there is something special when people in recovery take the thing that they really love doing and then use that to help people. I don't like there's like a different hit with that. So I would assume you were sort of like a jock growing up. You like exercise all the time. When did you make the, oh no, I'm wrong?
Oh man.
Am I totally wrong?
Not even close.
Okay,
I'm so a fish out of water with that. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So, I grew up with extreme poverty. My mother was married at age 14. And so she was a kid having kids. And, my mother was kind of this rebellious little gal, and she put us through hell. And because of that, we moved 22 times before I was 18, bounced around from school to school. She had 6 different husbands. And so there was zero role models in my life. Put through the ringer with sexual and physical abuse from these stepdads that were, only in the picture for mere moments. And as I started kind of coming out of this, I realized that, school wasn't for me, because when you bounce around that much, you really don't have time to learn anything. And so I was so far behind. I got kicked into resource, wasn't the popular kid at all. With a name like Blue, it's kind of funny because I'm blue-green colorblind. So I dress like an idiot. No one ever took me to the doctor to get, get checked out. And so there were so many things competing against me. And just a mother who was severely addicted to the trauma cycle, to her own substances, and watching my family system, the youngest of these 4 kids. And just watching my brother, fall victim to it, my sister fall victim to it, my next sister fall to it. And for some reason, there was a point in time in my life where I would have made those same decisions, but it was a conscious decision when, 1996, where there had to be something else out there for me. And I had to commit like the social suicide. I had to walk away from everything, which was scary because like all I knew was that world. And so I like to joke that my only friends I had during that time were Monica and Chandler and Ross and Phoebe. That was it for a long time. But I knew that my addiction was sucking me down into this hole. And, I was working at a treatment center for youth. I was a courier, lied on my application so I could get a job there, saying that I graduated high school. And, my job was to take kids to and from airports and doctor visits and stuff. And I loved it. And I started getting all this money. I'm like, wow, money, this is crazy. I wasn't spending on stupid stuff. And, I took my big wad of cash to a bike store, and I'm like, I got to get rid of this money because I knew what would happen, being alone and isolated for many months as I was. I'm like, if I don't get rid of this, I know what I'm going to do with it. And I went and bought a mountain bike. Right. Oh. And I'm like, I'm like, here, what can I buy for this? And I slid it across the table, and the guy was like, oh, I got the bike for you. And it was a sweet Trek mountain bike.
Sweet Trek mountain bike. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. They probably have my picture on the wall still, like the best sell ever. And I came back and I put it on my house as wall art because I didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, well, I've got this now. And then one day, man, I just got so sick of just being alone. I got on the stupid bike. I started pedaling here in the foothills of Utah, and I got way up in the mountains on this thing because I thought mountain bike, mountains.
Mountains, yeah.
And I was horribly lost, man, horribly lost. These guys pull up to me and they ask me a very profound question. They're like, dude, are you lost? And I'm like, in more ways than one, sir. Yeah. But I had like Levi shorts and like this, tank top cut off. And these guys had these things called helmets and water bottles. And they're like, well, follow us down. We'll show you. And they showed me how to get down. And I was watching them kind of like where they break, where they, wishing I had water, all this funny stuff. We get to the trailhead and the guy's like, dude, we come up here like twice, sometimes 3 times a week. We'd love to take you out there, but get a helmet and get some water bottles before you come up next time. And then that was it. And I thought that's the weirdest thing. It was the first relationship, quote unquote, that I had with somebody. They didn't ask me where they could score or, what I could get, or did I have anything? I'm like, this is weird. Even though I didn't look the part, they treated me like a mountain biker. So I dove all in. I went and got the magazines. I started buying the Lycra, the skin tight clothes, man. I'm like, I want to be like these guys. And I lost myself in mountain biking. And so it was the seed that was planted where I'm like, I'm no longer going to consider myself an addict. I'm a mountain biker now. And I rubbed some people the wrong way. 11 years to almost 12 years ago now when I started Addict to Athlete. I'll tell you, I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because I had a different philosophy and a different approach. I really did rub some people the wrong way because I don't look at it the traditional way.
At what point did you find that activity benefited your mental well-being? Right off of the rip, did you get off that bike and you were like, wow, I feel different? Okay.
Immediately. Yeah. And it plays a lot into what I discovered with Addict to Athlete when I started it too. Okay. And so, I was a mountain biker now. And so I went and rode all over. I mean, I don't know if you've never been back here in Utah, but we have the most amazing mountains and deserts and all these different places. And literally a 2-hour drive, you can be anywhere. Zion's National Park, you could be anywhere. And I just started biking every weekend and I loved it. Didn't realize what it was doing for me.
First of all, what was your substance of choice?
Oh man, 100%. It was meth and alcohol for me.
Wow. Okay.
But I did a lot. I did a lot of different things. So,
So you found this exercise portion with your mountain biking. And you literally quit all of your substances?
So many things came from that. I call it the erase and replace philosophy. If you erase the addiction, you have to replace it with things of greater value, or else that void will stay empty and you'll fill it with unhealthy things.
You just said something that is super powerful. And what you said was erase and replace, and I've never heard that, and that's awesome. And that speaks to a key piece of what SMART does. SMART has a thing called a vital absorbing creative interest, where part of their program, and again, I'm based in 12-step, but I use a lot of different stuff. Part of the actual program is finding those fun things and doing them. Yeah. In 12-step, that's more of like a byproduct. You get clean, you get sober, and then you start to enjoy your life. But in SMART, and it sounds like with what you said, no, but you have to find those things now and do them now. Yes. Erase and replace. Real quick, you've got a website, addicttoathlete.org. You have a podcast. Just share with us what all you do, because it's, man, I went on your website and I was like, there's a lot here. Like, I mean, you are a big time achiever, dude.
Thank you. And you know what? I appreciate that. And I know my wife will appreciate that because she puts a lot of work into that. So it started like this. I was working for the Utah County Division of Substance Abuse. It was a government program working with drug courts. I thought, shoot, maybe I can start a program to help these clients of mine do something different and teach them to do a couch to 5K. Couch to 5K is a lot like recovery. You start slow, you gain some endurance, you gain some speed, and pretty soon you can run a 5K 3 miles without stopping. So the coolest thing was there was a race that was starting, a 5K race right outside the door of our treatment program. I mean, literally our group room and then University Avenue in Provo, Utah was the starting line. So I'm like, we're going to run this course so that when it comes, you guys will be completely ready to do this. So the coolest thing was we trained. I went down. I said, who wants to do this? I had 20 clients. Only 5 raised their hands. I'm like, we'll give it a go. Cool. So every morning they'd show up a little bit early. We'd stretch. We'd go running. And then this is where it started to happen. It's what you were talking about. What I noticed is that as we were running and we were walking and training and stretching, they'd start opening up to me with therapeutic content that they never did in my office. And I'm like, why are you guys telling me all this stuff out here in public? You know, trauma, abuse, issues, all kinds of stuff, but you wouldn't tell me in my office. I don't know. We're running, And I didn't realize it at the time, but years later when I was trained in EMDR therapy, it's exactly what it is.
Bilateral stimulation.
You're in motion. 100%. I had no idea. I thought I was like breaking new ground. I'm not going to write these books. And then I'm like, EMDR, what's that? And I learned it. I'm like, that's all it is. Yeah. But it works phenomenally. So I'm training these 5 guys to run this thing. It's called the Chase the Mayor 5K. It's funny. The mayor of Provo, which is a pretty big city out here, you give the mayor a 2-minute head start and everyone chases him. Smack him on the rear end as you run by. Good job, mayor. I don't know. But as we trained and we got these guys ready, before we started, they handed out these shirts that said addict to athlete. And I'm like, whoa. If you guys wear these, you're going to break anonymity. And they're like, we don't care. We're happy about what we're doing. We want to show this off. I'm like, all right. They put on these addict to athlete shirts. They say go. The mayor takes off. 2 minutes later, they all take off. Their families are there to watch them because they're like, we want to watch them choke and die because there's no way my husband, who was a 15-year smoker and heroin addict, there's no way he's going to finish this. So they go, and all but one of them caught the mayor. And the coolest thing happened was that as they caught the mayor, the first one's name was Tyson. Tyson passes the mayor. And the mayor of Provo says, hey, addict to athlete, what's that? Now, Tyson, an ex-heroin addict, is now talking to the mayor of a pretty big city here in Utah about recovery. And the mayor's like, I'm getting beat by an ex-heroin addict? Like, what the heck? Right? I'm sitting there at the finish line with their families. They come around the corner. They finish. They're cheering. I'm like, holy crap, you guys did so good. And I thought that would be it. So they go home. Monday rolls around. I get a call from my supervisor, Blue, we need to see you in the office. And I'm like, oh crap. Yeah, boy. Maybe they did smack the mayor on the butt on the way by. I'm thinking I'm in
big trouble.
For sure. So I go upstairs. My boss is like, hey, the county commissioners want to talk to you. I'm like, the county commissioners? Like that's, now I'm really screwed. The mayor had gotten a hold of county commissioners when he found out it was a county program that we'd started. And he said, I don't know what this is, but please keep it going. This was amazing to have conversations with these folks. They gave me the green light. It turned into this like alternate program, not a replacement for 12 steps, but an addition to. Yeah. And we did things a lot different. We dissolved anonymity, because you're a walking billboard of recovery. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about the powerlessness as much as it takes power to do what you're doing. And we do things a lot different, but we also say that spiritual component, That's where the 12 steps are. This team approach, that's addict to athlete. Therapy, that's the spiritual or the emotional, the mental part. You have a triad of recovery. And 12 years later, we have 9 chapters through Utah, 1 at the state prison, several outside of the state. We have thousands of athletes now coming up and doing this. And it all boils down to them stepping out of their comfort zone and then getting into a recreation. And we do more than just running. We do volleyball and softball and all kinds of stuff, to show them that there's a more excellent way to do this. If you have a team behind you, it's about the relationships and the accountability.
Well, and it was that small seed that you planted to that mayor who would have not, had you not had that and been at that race, he would have never been aware of it. And it just took that small seed to get that planted to realize that, wow, that somebody is doing something good and they did have an addiction and now they're running a race and they're trying to make their life better. And which ensued a phone call to you saying, keep doing it, because it might have not have been something that he would have been exposed to had you not been there.
I am curious, as a guy who's in charge of this nonprofit organization, who's propping others up, you said you're married, said you have kids. I'm curious about an area where you still struggle, where that old guy who didn't have a mentor, how does that still show up in your life? And then what do you do to sort of correct it?
Listen to that guy. Wow.
Yeah.
Great question, because it does. It really does. I get this little thread in me that I'm not good enough. It's not enough. My wife says this all the time. She's like, why do you go hide when someone knocks on the door? Or why don't you answer your phone? You guys probably you mentioned me a million times. And it's because I'm always afraid of what's on the other end, because what if on that other end, I can't help? And she's like, Blue, what do you mean? But so I still have these feelings of inadequacy of I'm not doing enough. Imposters syndrome still very much a big part of me, despite the fact that we're very successful, but I've still got this what if, fill in the blank. And so I do that a lot. I've learned through those experiences, like I did with my daughters, that if I'll turn and face it, and it's your resistance to the what is that causes your suffering. I've had to really keep pounding that into my head, because if I'm resistant to answering the phone, I got to answer the phone. And so it's those kind of things that really still kind of, push me to the core.
Well, dude, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for speaking to and preaching the physical fitness piece. Both Michelle and I, we talk about so much. Dude, if there ever was a magic bullet in recovery, it's this piece. And so often people, it's overlooked. They don't want to do it. They don't understand how it can help them. And I'm like, do it every other day for a month, dude. And then tell me how you feel, how your brain reacts. And they're still resistant. So I just think it's super important that we get that information out there. So real quick, please, plug all your wares again so people know where to go, where to learn about the organization, maybe even how to start their own local chapter. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, addicttoathlete.org. So it's addicttoathlete.org. That's going to take you to all of our contact information and all of our resources. We have online treatment programs. We've got, and the thing is, you guys, because I saw the ugly side of treatment and how much it costs and how ridiculous that can be, we do this. A majority of our stuff is free. And,
cool.
And it's all grant based. And in fact, after 11 years out of my own pocket with my wife and small donations here and there, we finally received a state grant that gave us this facility and resources. And so we're turning it around and giving it right back.
That's awesome.
Addicttoathlete.org is the best. Our social media, it's AddictTOAthlete, Facebook, Twitter, all these things. But yeah, we also have our own certified sober coach program where we certify you to become an official addict athlete coach, to operate under our 501c3 to open chapters of this in your community. Because I'm a firm believer, as you guys know, the troops aren't coming to get us. We are the troops. And so we need more boots on the ground. And it's the grassroots level programs that really make the difference. And so we train you very thoroughly on how to use scope of practice, how to understand what the coach's role is. It's segmented into a coach. You find your assistant coach and then your team captains. And then we call them personal trainers that operate a lot like a sponsor would, except instead of a calling, we're like, grab your shoes. We're going for a hike, or we're going to go golfing. We're going to do something. But like I said, we do a ton of service. We just wrapped up our Project ELF, which was, helping families who have fallen on hard times, specifically with your parents are in addiction or in treatment. We provide Christmas for kids that they fall on hard times. We did 40 plus kids this year, and it's tons and tons of service. So
yeah, you guys do a lot. You do a lot. You do a lot for the community. That was one of the things that I heard on that podcast, and you were plugging it, and you do a lot of giving back, and that should be commended. So.
Well, thank you. But yeah, that's kind of how you find us. Podcast Addict to Athlete. I got my daughter Brooklyn does a minor league podcast with me. So it's a teenage perspective on relationships. So we have the minor league with my daughter Savannah and me. And then we do a one-on-one live with Coach Blue every Wednesday. As soon as I wrap up with you, we're going to jump on that one.
That's cool.
We do. So it's a call-in show. And then I do an Agents of Recovery podcast with Max Hall, who's a former BYU, Brigham Young University football player, and was an Arizona Cardinals quarterback. He got stuck in some addictions. And then Brock Bevel, who was a retired law enforcement who was injured on the job and then became an addict, the very person that he tried to lock up. He's like, oh, crap, now I struggle. So we do the Agents of Recovery as well. So all that's on our website. You guys can go check it out. Lots of resources.
Awesome. Cool. Great. Well, Coach Blue Robinson, thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach Blue.
And thanks for making the world a better place.
Yeah. Turn the mess into the message, right?
That's right. All right. We'll talk to you, dude. Erase and replace. Thanks. I dig that. That was, honestly, like the biggest thing I'm going to take from that is erase and replace. Now, if I could only do that with my wife. Okay. I'm going to erase. No,
I liked the way he said that. And I liked the way he described being in a room and describing yourself as an alcoholic. That was always really hard for me in the very beginning to do that because I did not believe that defined who I was. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was much more than just being an alcoholic. And so it makes you kind of...
Do you say that now just out of curiosity when you go to a 12-step... Awesome. I say I'm a person in long-term recovery.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
I use the long-term yet.
Yeah. But technically you have to have 5 years, Michelle. I think that's the technically.
Which is my goal. Yeah. But we do this one day at a time. So yet another 12-step metaphor. But anyway, I made a resolution to, introduce myself as a woman in recovery.
That's awesome. Or
I say person in recovery. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what you are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so much more.
So much more. I'm going to start doing that thing where I talk to my judge. Yeah, we should do the rest of the show talking like this.
No, we should not. People would not subscribe.
I'm convinced that no matter how many years pass from the day that movie came out, talking like Buffalo Bill's still going to be funny. And maybe I've got it all wrong. Maybe you guys are like, no, not funny at all. Stop doing that, dude.
Well, you were on a... who's the comedian kick for a while? He passed away.
Oh, Norm Macdonald.
You were on a Norm Macdonald for a while. Yeah.
Norm Macdonald. He'd say, hey, put the lotion in the basket there because your skin's all dry there.
That's enough.
RecoveryCast.
Real quick, couple things. RecoveryCast.org is the website, RecoveryCast.org. You can also look straight up. You can make a donation there because the reality is podcast hosting ain't free. And so every little smidge helps. And I mean, every little smidge does help. You can do that there as well. You can learn more about the host. You can reach us and email us directly with questions, comments, concerns. It is recoverycast.org. On behalf of RecoveryCast, I'm Paulie.
And I'm Michelle.
Here to remind you there are many paths.
One recovery.
Find your people.